If there's one thing that Sufjan Stevens understands very well, it's that a great story sells an album. The concept of the 50 Albums 50 States project is so strong that to this day his fan base is still attached to it, despite admissions from the man himself that it was nothing more than a marketing project to put his name on the map. His dedication to the story around an album is so strong that it leads to him cutting songs if they don't serve the theme. As Sasha Geffen observed for Pitchfork.com when discussing the Carrie and Lowell companion album, The Greatest Gift, Wallow a Lake Monster explores the same complicated maternal relationship that haunts Carrie and Lowell through the childlike lens of an aquatic cryptid, which would have thrown an odd third element into the album's cosmology of stark realism and Christianity. Which is just another way of saying, don't put magical shit in your stark album about dead mum. I mention this not to downplay his talent or his music, both of which I adore. It's just to emphasize that the man has a talent for playing an angle. I find it interesting then that alongside 2023's landmark album Javelin, which was released as a tribute to his dead lover, Sufjan also released another EP of previously unreleased tracks without fanfare and without a story. 2023's 5 unreleased songs is exactly that, 5 unreleased songs. Put out by Rough Trade, initially as a bonus CD for pre-ordering Javelin, and then as a limited edition vinyl. These 5 tracks are Sufjan at his most stripped down and folky, which has led people to place the recordings around the Carrie and Lowell era. The first track is called Malthusian Mistress, which is a banger song title because Malthus was an economic theorist who proposed that population increases at a faster rate than the societal structures that can sustain it, in regards to food production or whatever. So to say that a mistress is Malthusian would be to say that the love affair is accelerating faster than he can sustain it, which I think is a gorgeous and poignant turn of phrase. And the alliteration, that's why Sufjan's the greatest.
Your Malthusian mistress pulls at my sleeve.
One curiosity of Carrie and Lowell is that it's full of references to Oregon. Consider where Wallowa Lake is, or what the Tillamook Burn is, or hell, he even spells it out with
Bright as the Oregon breeze.
According to an interview with Uncut magazine, Sufjan was considering turning the record into the third entry in the 50 Albums 50 States project, but decided against it. Track 2 gives us even more proof that the 5 unreleased songs come from the Carrie and Lowell era, because the premise of the song is Sufjan comparing his love to Bonnie McCarroll, who was a horse racer who died on the tracks in Oregon. That's pretty fucking bleak, Sufjan.
Played it out like Bonnie McCarroll. People say love is a death wish.
Oh yeah, he's going through it. This is a man who is feeling some sad feelings. Meanwhile, the next track, Fireproof, is about Sufjan feeling unsure whether he's coping with a problem, or whether feeling like he's coping with the problem is just part of the problem. It's a good concept for a song, though like a lot of the songs on this EP, it is a little underbaked. What the track does have, though, is a whole bunch of rapid-fire references to Oregon.
Mount St. Helens, the wonder dog who needs no rescue. I feel lucky in my Nike on the Oregon Trail.
The song Old Man of the Lake is the most reminiscent of his work on the previous States albums. The song plays out like a personal anecdote that Sufjan is telling, which is tied to a geographical place in Oregon. The instrumentation and strum patterns on this also really strongly remind me of Illinois.
We had our bikes and wearing spandex, 3 of us, my brother and my cousin named Josh, at Crater Lake with California license plates from Prius and an energy bar. What price would I pay to reverse my fate? Old man of the lake, have a laugh at us now. Go, go, go.
The fifth and final track is called The Kiss of Niobe, and it has a strong connection to Carrie and Lowell's theme of Sufjan dealing with his complicated relationship with his own mother by talking about Niobe, who in Greek mythology had her children murdered by Apollo and Artemis as punishment for her pride. This track seems the most complete of any of the songs on the EP, and if I had to guess why it was cut from Carrie Lowell, I would say that the production ties it too much to the electronic Age of Ads sound, where Carrie Lowell had the very stripped down and intimate production style.
Please don't let your children die tonight. Whatever is wrong or right, let them sleep in peace.
These songs are on the shorter side, and this whole EP only comes in at a tight 12 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the songs feel a little underbaked, but Sufjan is such a great lyricist and vocalist that he can pull you into his world. It's what he's great at as an artist. And I've enjoyed being in the world of these songs. It's a lighter side to Oregon that didn't end up making the cut on Carrie Lowell, and that's a nice place to hang out for a while. I always say that my fascination with unreleased songs is that you can tell more about an artist from what they choose to cut than what they choose to include. If you're prepared to read between the lines, these recordings can give you a more complete picture of the artist. When Carrie Lowell released, it reignited enthusiasm for Sufjan Stevens for a whole new generation of music listeners, and it received a great deal of critical acclaim. For me, the tracks on this EP show Sufjan as a consummate artist who renders his life into songs while also being aware of his body of work. It references his States project, but he's smart enough to see the full picture of what Carrie Lowell would become, and he knew that by cutting these songs out, he could let Carrie Lowell take on its own identity. And that makes this EP worth owning, in my opinion. If you're a fan of Sufjan Stevens, or you've liked the snippets that I've played to you today, I'd suggest picking the record up from Rough Trade while they still have it in stock. Flippers are already starting to sell it for £65, and I don't think this is the sort of thing that's going to get repressed very often. There's more I could talk about with Sufjan Stevens. If you liked this video and want to see me cover the time that someone found a whole unreleased Sufjan album by rummaging through his trash, let me know. I might cover it later this year. I'm setting myself the goal of doing a shorter video every week this year, whether that's a TikTok, a shorter album review like this, or even one of the main series videos perhaps. I've been Howard Hands TV. Thanks for watching.